Hey, this is Notser, and we're looking at the 0.5.1 public test realm. First off, the Carousel. It has brand new features. You can filter by tier, by type, by nation, and by special. You can see we set it to US Tier 1, and the US Tier 1 is, of course, the Erie, and it remains highlighted while everything else is faded out, but you can still click on them so you don't lose the ability to interact with them. Elite, Premium, you can also set it by ranked battles. So only ships that are eligible for ranked battles will be highlighted. Special, you can do for events or what appears to be the first one of the day. So that's very cool that they've added it in. You can see they have Poland. There will be a Polish destroyer soon. So it'll be exciting for that. They also added a compact carousel view, and you can see double the space you can use. I just love that they added all this stuff in. It's a fantastic addition to the game. You can also just use the straight filter by tier, type, or nation, similar to how it is default filtered right now without the carousel, but this is a fantastic adjustment. It also lists the total number of ships that you own and the vacant slots. There is a little bit of extra information. You already see the vacant slot number, so that could be an area where they could make it more efficient, but overall, can't fault them for adding all this extra information to the player, the ability to filter and all that stuff. It was really needed, and I just love it. I just love that they were able to put it in, and it is basically perfect for me. They also added events, challenges, missions, and daily missions. Daily missions have always existed. Those are the missions that show up 24, 48 hours, and they allow you to do varying number of different missions that have different requirements. They might have torpedoes, aircraft, kills, wins, whatever. But now, you can actually swap one out. You can do this once every 24 hours. And much like Hearthstone, for those who have ever played Hearthstone, you get a daily mission and you can adjust it randomly to something else that might be a better reward, a little bit harder, obviously, or more in line with your interest in the game. So those who don't like torpedoes or don't like shooting down aircraft or whatever, you can throw that mission out and get a better mission for you. Now, they have missions. These are completed once, and they may contain several stages. You can see there are 3 examples: Mythbusters, Destroyer, Battle, Achievements 1. Again, these are a single mission. You cannot do it more than once. Theoretically, that would mean that the reward is actually worth it. So we go into it. Mythbusters, destroy 10 ships. Complete the mission in a random battle. You must have a tier 6 or higher. And it looks like the completion is a made-up completion that's just filled in. The reward itself is not very good, so I would say that the destroy 10 ships is over the course of multiple battles. That's a really hard mission. I think a mission that actually required you to knock out 10 ships should basically give you a ship, okay? That's nearly impossible, I think, in World of Warships. Can be done, but nearly impossible. Cause 100,000 points of damage to ships, much more reasonable, tier 4 or higher. This is a very simple mission. It could be in one battle. But look at the reward. It gives you main battery modification 1. That is 250,000 credits in a mission reward. That's pretty awesome. Now here's the multiple stage example. First stage gives you a rather nice mission reward. Set fire to 10 ships. Tier 5 or higher. Now, how do you actually see the objectives? Okay, that's not what you do. Let's go back into missions. Ah, yes, okay. So you can hover over these little dashes. You can barely see them, but the first one, set 10 fires. I'm curious if it has some sort of algorithm that checks to see if the fire would have stuck to the ship, if it is calculating immunity, or if the fire has already set, stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how that's actually rewarded to the player. Maybe they would need to specify that have these fires stick or whatever. Shoot down 10 aircraft. Okay, that's a joke. Just get in a cruiser and go after any game that has a aircraft carrier. You can easily get 10 kills. So I don't know why that is after set 10 fires, because I think that's way easier than 10 fires. In one battle, destroy 3 ships. Okay, that's not amazingly challenging, but that is a difficult stage of the mission. These rewards are awesome. Repair party 2, 10. Smoke generator 10. Engine boost 10. 10 flags of basically everything. That's a great reward. Everyone is going to love having the ability to earn more stuff for their account. And now the final, well, challenges. Challenges are just unlimited missions, basically. They have varying rewards. First example, carrier tests. You could actually get a modification for the aircraft carrier. And all you need to do is destroy 2 ships. That seems like a pretty nice reward for destroying 2 ships. I hope that they meet their target and allow you to earn modifications like this. That would definitely help everyone's credit income. For ranked battles, you would have a little bit more success, but flags, seems like they're targeting camouflage, flags, XP for commanders, which I'm not complaining. I need as much commander XP as I can get. Consumables, that's great. Ship slots, that's fantastic. Just, they've clearly balanced the economy around having this stuff in, and since it wasn't in, it was a little bit harder to level up. And finally, we have the events. These could be the Halloween event. That's a perfect example. It's a short event that occurs in-game that might reward extra XP, credits, what have you. And this is just a way to communicate that without having to force the player to read forums, go to the website, read the launcher. Who does that? Who opens something up and ignores everything and then asks that exact question to someone else who does all the research for you? No one ever does that. But this will be great. I love special events. I can't wait for more events. Overall, all the UI changes, fantastic. Alright, we're going to go over the maps. So they have 2 brand new maps, Trap, Land of Fire. Now they also have a new map, Northern Lights, which is just a variation on an old map, North. They have altered Islands of Ice, Two Brothers, and Hotspot, and we're going to show those too. Hope you enjoy all of that. We're going to just run through it really quickly. I don't want to keep you forever. Just get a taste of these maps. Hope you enjoy that. Alright, Northern Lights. This is North, just with the Northern Lights. You can see it's very bright. It is not night in the manner that we would think of night. This is video game night, where it's actually day and you can see everything, but it's just slightly darker than if you were in midday. You can even see pretty harsh shadows that would not be cast with such a low light scenario. The shadows would be dispersed a lot, I think, just based on the general feel. This makes it feel like some 60s movie where they would film everything during the day, and then for night scenes they would just put a dark overlay, but you would still see really harsh shadows, the bright glare on their skin, all that funny business. So it's a nice alteration to a map that we already love. And look, it's the trunk. This is Land of Fire, and it has a great feel. It feels very different from other maps. It's very bright oranges and reds, and it is a domination-only map. It is designed for high tier, just like Northern Lights. Northern Lights is 1-to-1 with North. So whatever you play and find yourself matched up on North, you'll find yourself matched up on Northern Lights. Land of Fire. So Land of Fire has a lot of islands. It has varying degrees of capture size, and the north-south spawn will cause players to have to send ships towards what they're best at, I think. I think destroyers would head towards sea. Sea is a natural area with lots of islands, cover, torpedo alleys. Terrifying, right? B is a little bit more open, and there's islands all around it, so you could theoretically use it as cover for bigger ships. Maybe you could ambush those bigger ships in destroyers. And the northwest, southeast, those are the two spawn points, I believe. And we'll see how that works. I would like to think that it's not a huge advantage to be close to a large area like A or a small area like C, but you never know. In this particular island, it is crazy in its design. It's kind of shallow, so you can fire over it from B to C or C to B, but you can also set up a terrifying ambush if you're a destroyer or a cruiser with torpedoes, like the German cruisers, and send them packing when they try and round this corner. So the islands are intense all around this map. You gotta deal with it, but there's enough wide open space that battleships could find a place for them. Doesn't look like there is any inherent advantage or disadvantage for carriers. The spawns are very far away, so you're not having to deal with running away from the enemy. So, Land of Fire. Let's go to the third and final brand new map. So this is Trap. It has Domination and Zone available. Zone is a brand new game mode where King of the Hill style capture. It has a little bit of a variation on it. It's basically King of the Hill with everyone fighting inside the point or right up against it. It doesn't really reward Zerg tactics, so we'll see how that goes. That particular location on the map is in between A and B for Zone. For Domination, this map actually feels a lot like New Dawn. It's a diagonal. You spawn kind of in the northwest and the southeast, and you've got varying degrees of skill positions. You obviously have a lot of wide open space for battleships. There's a lot of areas with islands that destroyers and cruisers can take advantage of. And overall, any carrier that would be on the map would go straight for those large islands near their spawn and try and impact the map. There isn't really an island that you can use to hide in any of these points, so you're going to have a lot of open ground for destroyers to try and hide, battleships to try and exploit, cruisers to try and run and hide. So I love New Dawn. If this can be half of what New Dawn was, then it's going to be a perfect high tier map for me. Again, this is Trap. So we'll see if it's a trap or it's actually a great map. Hotspot. Hotspot looks pretty different, doesn't it? Yeah, this is a little weird. So Hotspot, they took out the cross spawn. Yay! Who liked cross spawn? I didn't like cross spawn. I had to deal with everyone trying to ambush me. But now that the spawns are north and south, they've kept C, because C is fantastic. And I think they basically designed the map around keeping C. So what they did is they adjusted A and B. It's now in a uniform line. A is completely different. This area of the map used to be tight islands that really were completely ignored in the most recent variation of the map. The initial map design had a spawn that was cross spawn, obviously, but there was five capture bases, with the center actually being there, and then 4 corners. So it was really insane. But there was a lot of engagements that occurred with the islands that were in between A and B, which we know today. That was killed off when they went to the 3 spawn, and I think they kind of want to get back to that. This is not quite there, but it is 3 islands, roughly, that are around a point, and they are narrow enough that you would not want to go through here if you were in a big ship where a torpedo could exploit your lack of maneuverability. But it's small enough that you can use these islands to your advantage to put pressure on the map, maybe maintain power over A, because you have to go through a couple choke points, and if you can cover those, you can hold A. I like the change. I certainly did not like that this area of the map was basically ignored, and it should complement C, because C was fantastic. Looks like the only thing they did with C is move back an island on the east side, and that island on the east side was very useful for cruisers and battleships. So maybe they want to take away a little bit of their ability to hide, and I'm all for that. Now, unfortunately, a casualty of this design is the islands in the north and the south. You're not really going to attack through those paths because it's a north-south spawn. Maybe those can come back in some manner, but I don't really see them being useful for combat. They're more going to be useful for carriers and annoying battleships that want to stay all the way in the back of the map and not get their ship wet. Islands of Ice. Oh my, look how different this is. It only has 3 points. The old version had 4. There are no islands in the southeast center, I would say. Completely gone. They've completely changed the way the islands are designed around the southeast spawn. Gone are the triangles and the cones. Here is just a lane of small islands that you can use as a destroyer, as a cruiser, not really a battleship. This is just to give a couple ship types a way to flank. Otherwise, you're never going to see this. You're never going to use this if you're a battleship or a carrier. Battleships love that they took out a lot of islands in the center. This is going to be way more area for them to dominate the map. They won't have to worry about being ambushed by torpedoes around islands as much if they stay in that area. They moved one of the points out of that area, and they shifted it to where there's a point in between the 2 original point system. And what that does for me, it makes the northern island area a little less powerful over a capture point, but it is a little bit more balanced, I think, for all ship types. It was a little too congested. I would say destroyers and cruisers love congestion. They love being in traffic, waiting to go to the office, but battleships, they don't like that. Battleships like a long open road. A is near identical. I don't think they changed a single thing. The only thing I think they did change, I think they reversed it. I think they went, it used to go southeast A all the way to the northwest D, and now it's top left, bottom right, A to C. So maybe they're trying to make a uniform statement that you could communicate the part of the map more easily. Maybe they got some test feedback, but this is pretty uniform, I would say. It's pretty balanced. The spawns are exactly the same. So you have that kind of weird L shape that is along those open paths. So we'll just have to see. Islands of Ice used to be a terrible map. Then it got better, and we'll see if it'll get even better. I enjoy this map, And one of my problems with it was I think there were so many objects along with carriers and everything. It was the laggiest map or nearly the worst performing map for me. I don't know if that's universal, but they took out islands, so maybe it'll run better for everyone. And I think everyone would be excited about that. Final map that I'm going to overview, Two Brothers. Now, Two Brothers is controversial for me. It started out as one of my least favorite maps because the strategy was so shallow. You would go to your nearest point, and then you would either all go one flank or the other, or get crushed because something happened. Nobody would go through the gap. That's suicide. Nobody's that stupid. But now they've changed the eastern and the western point. Way more wide open. Way more wide open. Before, destroyers and cruisers would just reign supreme. Battleships would not want anything to do with getting anywhere near those points. And now, maybe they do. I don't think so. I think they'll still like those islands, which should only be used by aircraft carriers, okay? You need to be with your team, putting pressure on the enemy. But you can see D is just wide open. There's no island that you can actually use to hide from the enemy. Everything's wide. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, everything. Everything can see everything. Gotta just be so careful. And it's nearly identical on the other side. They moved basically all the islands to fill in the hole in the area of the map that was generally used for skirters. People who would skirt the edge, put pressure on the enemy, stay stealth as long as possible. There has definitely been an increase in space denial, and for anyone who wants to go through an open area, they're going to have to basically signal the enemy that they're going through it by capturing it, decapturing, whatever. So there's really not a blank space on the map for you to find an opening. That's what it looks like, except for maybe the gap, but no, the gap seems suicidal. You can see they've softened the shark's tooth a lot. I've been over in the center. It's just wide open. It's a lot more comfortable than what you had to deal with prior. You could actually avoid torpedoes now. You can actually fire on the enemy in more than one specific spot. So that's very exciting. And my last statement I would say on this particular map, because they removed all of the islands outside of A, I think players are just naturally going to gravitate towards any islands that are by. That means they're going to hide behind the tip of the, well, not tip, the dull point of the shark's tooth now. And I don't know if that's a better strategy. I don't know if that makes the map more fun, because that just means cruisers are going to be more passive in the back, maybe even battleships hiding by that blade, and they're not going to be interested in fighting. I really want to make every map more action-packed. I think the game is fantastic, but the way players play the game is awful. You can't wait 20 minutes to do something. The time should just be there as a means to make you try to play the objective or what have you, if you just can't catch someone, right? But you shouldn't just sit back and feel completely comfortable waiting 20 minutes before you do anything. And that's all I want from all these changes. I want people to want to play the game. So, one other thing you might notice, as my ship is sailing, they've added a little rock to the ships in the water. Now, everyone might know exactly how it works, but for those who don't, we're basically controlling a ship that's moving on a plane. The water is not actually there. They add the water in. The wave action is not actually there. That is added in after to make it appear like you are moving through water, when actuality it's closer to ice or something like that, where it's just a flat plane. They've added all this texture on to make it look interesting, but it's a very straightforward process of moving the ship. They've added a little wave action. Now it's a predictable wave action, so it's not going to influence the battle too much, I don't think. You might miss once than that you would have normally hit. But it's just a little bit more organic of a feel, and I like that. I think they should do more of that. I hope you enjoyed seeing all these maps, getting my take. I hope you have something that you think is completely different. Just share it with me. I'm completely fine with that. I'm just telling you what I think some of these maps are turning into, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.